Okay, in this video, the third part of the 3 videos, we're going to have a look at adding and processing to the pseudocode we've already put in, and then we'll just have a quick look at the mark scheme and just see where we're sitting if we've got a solution similar to this. So we've declared our variables. Number 1, we didn't have any inputs, but if we did, we would have done something very similar to the outputs. They would just be sort of up here. We haven't done the processing yet because we need to figure that out, but we did write down the outputs because we've identified everything that needs to be output, so we can just write down those outputs. And we haven't put the loop in either. So let's go ahead and look at what needs to be processed. So we've got our peers. Now what I have done, I've added, which wasn't on the previous videos, the fact that if we look at these here, we got the name, we already have those. We've got a P for working out the total mark here, and then for the average mark we've got a P as well. But actually, to work out the grade awarded, that isn't anywhere in here, so I have added a P there for the grade awarded. And you might find that you go through the question, you notice things that you've missed, and you just add them in. So everything else is the same, but we just got that extra P. So what we're going to do is we're going to work through these P's now and just address each one. Calculate the combined total mark for each student for all their subjects. So first of all, we have the variable total mark, which we've given a value to. So what we're going to do is we want to add the marks to that. So we're going to use totaling. We're going to say total mark is going to be assigned total mark plus a mark. Now we haven't actually collected the mark from anywhere. We've just put that there to show we appreciate that we're going to use totaling. We're going to say total mark is going to be total mark plus the mark, and that would need to be repeated, but not at the moment. We're just going to go through each of these P's. So we've got a method of working out a total mark. The average mark is next. Now the average mark is going to be the total mark divided by the number of subjects, and we identified in the question that the number of subjects is this variable here. Subject no contains the number of subjects studied. So if we say average mark is going to be assigned the total divided by the subject number, we've now worked out the average mark. So we're going through this quite nicely. Now we need to work out the grade awarded and sort of count the number of distinctions and merits and passes. So we're going to use selection here, because to work out the grade awarded, we look at the average mark, and if the average mark is greater than or equal to 70, we give them a distinction. If it's greater than 55 and less than 70, a merit, and so on. So let's start off at the top here. So we're going to say if average mark is greater than or equal to 70, then grade is going to be assigned distinction. Now here, instead of 70, you could use the constant we declared earlier. You could write distinction because we set it up, but it's fine. It's fine for this. We've put those constants in to show that we've used different methods of setting up our data, but you could use it here, but don't worry if you don't. So if average mark is greater than or equal to 70, then grade is going to be assigned distinction. So we've now set the grade. What we also can do at this point is, because we've just, if that is true, we've just awarded a distinction, let's count it as well. So we're just going to add 1 to the distinction count. Distinction count is going to be assigned distinction count plus 1. So we've addressed this. If it was greater than 55, then they're going to get a merit. So if it's not greater than 70, then we go down and we check the next one. If average mark is greater than or equal to 55, then grade is going to be assigned merit. Merit count is going to be assigned merit count plus 1. So if it's not greater than 70 and it's not greater than 55, let's check if it's greater than 40. So else if average mark is greater than or equal to 40, then grade is going to be assigned pass. Pass count is going to go up by 1. Pass count assigned pass count plus 1. And then finally, if it's not any of those 3, it has to be a fail. Anything else will be a fail. So we can actually just use the else. Grade assigned fail. And we've now worked through all of the P's, and we've got some decent processing there. We've pretty much just sort of rewritten these lines as pseudocode statements. And what we can do now is we can have a look at how many marks that's going to get us, where we're sitting with the mark scheme, And then if you wanted to and you had time and you were happy, you could go on and look at how we put loops in. But at this point, if you're sort of satisfied, you've got to this point, you've got some really good marks. Maybe it'd be worth going back and checking the rest of the paper before coming back to this. Okay, but let's just go on. I've got to add one to the fail count as well. So hopefully you spotted that before I pressed the button. Obviously we need the comments. Let's not forget our comments. Our comments are so important. So with the processing, you've got a bit more to write about what's going on. Add each mark to the total. Divide the total by the number of that should be the number of subjects to get the average grade. Then explain what's going on here. If the average grade is greater than 70, the grade can be distinction, and so on and so forth. And then I've also put add one to the counts for each grade as well. You could write that up. You'll have a bit more space on your paper than I've got here, so you can write that up however, but that's a nice bit of explanation there. Let's see where we're sitting in the mark scheme. So let's look at this middle band. Some programming techniques have used appropriate to the problem. So more than one technique seen. Refer to the list of techniques needed. So techniques, we've got selection, iteration, counting, totaling, input, output. So we've certainly got output, we've got selection where we're making the choice here, we've got counting where we're adding one to the count, we've got totaling, we've got working at average. So we've done pretty well with that. We're definitely in here for that. Some of the data structures chosen are appropriate and still some of the data is required. Well, yeah, so the appropriate data structures with the correct data types, and we've got good identifiers. We've used sensible names, so we're sat comfortably here for that in this middle band. And then we've got for AO3, so program seen with some relevant comments, definitely. Majority of the identifiers are appropriately named, so yeah, with these, anything we give a name to is an identifier. They're all appropriate. Solution may contain parts that might be illogical, so we know that this part here, though it is adding something to a total, we haven't figured out how to get the mark, but hey, that's fine. That still lets us be in this middle band. Solution contains parts that are inaccurate, so again that does meet that. You know, it is, we've got some stuff that works out quite well, but we have got that sort of inaccurate part there. The solution meets most of the requirements, and when you look at those P's that we looked at on the last slide, the processing, we are trying to address each of those, and our explanation helps to back that up as well. So you're sitting nicely in here, picking up some really good marks. And then again, if you've done this and you weren't feeling that confident about this question, that's absolutely amazing. Go back, check the rest of your answers, and then if you're feeling a bit more confident, you've had a bit of time to think about it, you can then perhaps add a loop. And I'm going to make one more video to go with these, which will show a sort of full solution, and I'll talk a little bit about how we can add the loop with the arrays. But if you've got this far and you've done this and you weren't confident before, that's absolutely amazing. And if you want to have a look at the other video and you have time, then please do. Okay, thank you very much.